Hi, my name's Rebecca Tanner and welcome to Excellent Eggs. So today I'm going to be talking about the centerpiece of our program, and that's how to improve oocyte or egg quality for fertility. So this really is the key. So we know that the egg is the largest cell in the body and the sperm are the smallest cells in the body. And unfortunately, it's the egg that has this window of health and fertility. And as women get older, the egg quality typically declines. So by the time a woman is in her 40s, there's a very small chance of conceiving. Now, we can reverse some of this biological aging, and throughout this webinar, I'm going to be talking about ways to improve and upgrade your egg health, which is the quintessential factor in achieving a pregnancy. So in this talk, we'll be looking at the windows of vulnerability, factors that influence egg quality, and tests to assess egg quality, some that you might not be familiar with, and what can be done to improve egg quality through supplements and Chinese medicine. So the development of the egg or oocyte has a particular vulnerable phase, and that's the phase of maturation, where the eggs are basically selected out of hibernation to go through their maturation process. And that window is about 90 to 120 days. So that's why, in order to prepare for successful fertility, for successful IVF, it's ideal to have about 3 months up your sleeve. The average age of first-time parents is actually around the 30s now, and this is a time when egg quality does start to decline. So we really need to focus on egg quality as the primary thing in fertility. So the factors that affect aging eggs are things like oxidative stress, mitochondrial damage, so the damage to the energy producing part of the cell, advanced glycation end products, which basically are associated with too much sugar in the diet or an inability to tolerate sugars, and they can cause damaging effects to the egg. Also, a reduction in the ability to repair the DNA of the egg, and that's through a process called methylation. We also have really important antioxidants within the body, and one of them was called glutathione. There's another one called superoxide dismutase. And when these are not working optimally, our eggs become vulnerable. It is also really essential to have healthy blood flow to the reproductive system. So as we age, we divest less blood to the reproductive organs. So we really want to find ways that we can improve that blood flow to bring oxygen and nutrients and all the hormonal signals that the eggs need for healthy development. So environmental toxins we've discussed in our first webinar, but did you know that having high BPA levels can significantly reduce implantation and also affect egg quality, as can heavy metals and all sorts of chemicals that we put on our skin and use in our homes. They significantly can damage fertility, so we definitely need to clean up. Stress is another big factor, and it can play a huge role on fertility and egg quality. And we know that chronic psychological stress results in poor IVF outcomes, and it affects the ovary and the oocytes or the eggs. So morning cortisol and anxiety scores correlate strongly to a reduced pregnancy rate. So managing stress is a big part of egg quality. When we're living in a stressful environment, the body's just thinking, no, not a safe place to conceive. So it doesn't invest in the reproductive organs. This is just a diagram to show the impact of stress on egg quality, which is multifaceted. oxidative stress. So it's that rust that we see, like an apple when you put it out and it browns. Well, the tissue and the egg health and the ovaries can all be affected by this same oxidative stress. And this can be the result of all sorts of inflammation from smoking, from nutritional factors, from environmental exposure, from aging, and all sorts of oxidative stresses can impact on the ovary. So it can create eggs that really are poor quality, and we really need to improve our oxidative environment. So we need to get the balance right. So we've got more antioxidants relative to the oxidative stress, so that we've got a protective shield around our eggs and within our eggs. The mitochondria, which is the energy producing part of the cell. Now, there's actually more mitochondria in the human oocyte or egg than there is in any other cell in the body. And that includes heart cells, which have to beat all the time and require an enormous amount of energy. So the accumulated damage to these mitochondria within cells, which are the energy producing part of the cells, is really linked to poor egg quality. So we really need to improve and support the mitochondria. I talked about the effect of sugars. These things called advanced glycation end products are actually damaging to ourselves, and they're associated with having too much sugar in the blood. So you may have heard of the MTHFR gene. I did introduce it in the first webinar. Now, the MTHFR gene is really important for if we have faulty SNPs or a poor ability to methylate, then we're not going to be able to repair our DNA. And the DNA is quintessential for egg health, because it's our 23 chromosomes that we give over to create half of the embryo from the egg, and 23 chromosomes that come from the sperm, and these come together. And if we have got some damage and poor methylation, in other words, we've got the MTHFR SNPs, like the C677T or the A1298C SNP, or a combination of the two together, called a compound heterozygous MTHFR profile, then we really lose our ability to do a lot of that DNA repair for healthy eggs. So this is why testing the MTHFR gene SNPs is really important. So excellent egg health. So let's look at what we can test beyond just FSH, AMH, and antral follicle count, which are all important markers for egg health. Now, one of the markers we can test through urine is 8-hydroxy DG, a marker for egg health. And it correlates with high rates of damage because it's associated with oxidative stress. And this is something that I sometimes measure in my clients if I suspect there's a lot of accelerated aging in the egg, and or a lot of damage from being exposed to environmental or environmental chemicals or a unhealthy work environment. So this is a test that we can look at, which gives us information about the oxidative stress levels in the body and how they might be impacting on egg health. And this is a simple urine test. Now, all of these tests that I'm going through, you'll find in your booklet, and that will give you instructions on how to obtain these tests and the approximate cost of each of these tests. Another test is called GGT. Now, this is part of a normal liver function panel, and this evaluates glutathione to some extent. So GGT is a liver enzyme, but it does give some insight into the body's glutathione. Remember, I mentioned glutathione is being our superpower antioxidant internal enzyme in the body, and it's how the body largely manages toxicity together with superoxide dismutase and some other endogenous or in the body mechanisms for mopping up all of those damaging potential free radicals or chemicals or metabolic byproducts. So, through a simple liver function test, we can get a picture of GGT. So MTHFR and homocysteine. So I mentioned before MTHFR. So homocysteine can often rise as a result of having the MTHFR gene SNPs, and it's associated with unhealthy follicular fluid. And remember, the follicular fluid, it actually surrounds the egg and contributes to the egg health. So we do sometimes want to measure the homocysteine. So, in summary, some of the egg quality indicators are the 8-hydroxy-D-guanosine, or the 8-OHDG, the gamma-glutathione transferase enzyme, which is part of the standard liver enzyme test, a homocysteine, which is measured in the blood, or MTHFR, which is a gene test that you can do through saliva or a buccal swab. And that's a very simple test, costing only $50, providing excellent information. HbA1c, or fasting glucose, or insulin levels can give us ideas about, remember I talked about the unhealthy effect of sugars, too many sugars, and they cause these glycation products, which are glucose-like molecules on that become potent oxidative stressors and can affect egg health. So we don't want to have too much sugar in the diet, and those are ways that we can measure the health of our glucose system. Morning cortisol and DHEAs is a way of measuring stress. And remember, I talked about stress impacting on fertility. So, we're not going to get away from all stress, but we want to see how it may be impacting the body. Melatonin. So melatonin, you've heard about. This is endogenously produced, or it's produced in our body to help us sleep, but it also happens to be a terrific antioxidant and can help with egg health. So we can measure the amount of melatonin that a body produces, and that's a fairly easy test to do as well, that I sometimes do more with people who have a lot of sleep difficulties combined with their fertility issues. And then the traditional indicators of anti-Müllerian hormone and FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, and the antral follicle count. So these can be often measured by a fertility clinic. I will often measure the AMH and the FSH, but the AFC, the antral follicle count, that actually requires an ultrasound. This is just showing you the saliva cortisol and melatonin measure. So you can measure both of those things very easily through saliva, also through blood, and also there's a way of doing it through urine, but I do actually prefer for melatonin saliva, and for cortisol I actually prefer blood. And these are the supplements for excellent eggs. Now we will be going through the exact dosages in the workbook, but this is an overview of the supplements for excellent eggs that you will be incorporating into your excellent eggs regime. Now remember, the egg and embryo cells get tired too. So we talked about the mitochondria and the need for ATP or energy in all cells, especially the biggest cell in the body, which is the egg cell. So there's a substance called nicotinamide riboside, or NMN, which is just another form of NAD, which is a really, really important which is really important for mitochondrial function and egg cell quality. So this supplement we usually use at 300 milligrams. I often use the NR because the NR is converted to the NMN in the body. And it really makes a big difference to the egg quality of the women that I see daily in my practice. So that is NAD, which is manufactured from taking NR and is so crucial for all the functions of a healthy egg cell. Now, you may have heard of coenzyme Q. Well, the Q10, well, the active form is ubiquinol, and this is the form that we really want for good egg quality. And this is vital for producing healthy ATP. The mitochondria in the egg cell, remember we said that there's more mitochondria in an egg cell than any other cell in the body. So having the CoQ10 in the form of ubiquinol is quintessential for healthy eggs. And we will talk about dosage in the booklet, but around 300 milligrams, sometimes twice a day, is what is needed for healthy eggs 3 months prior to your natural fertility or IVF to maximize egg health. Lipoic acid, vitamin C, and E are also incredibly important for mitochondria, and they're incredibly important as antioxidants. So these supplements given together are associated with normal alignment of chromosomes in the egg cell. So very key and very important to healthy egg cell development. Glutathione, I spoke about glutathione and how it's found naturally in the body as our most robust antioxidant. So NAC, or N-acetylcysteine as it's known, is a precursor to our own body's glutathione. So I will often recommend NAC, or if I know the glutathione is extremely low, we'll give glutathione itself in various forms that are easy to absorb. So NAC is used for egg health repair, and it is really quintessential. I'm often using at least 1 to 2 grams daily for my fertility clients. But again, the exact information on this will be in your booklet. L-carnitine is really important for egg health, and administration of the antioxidant L-carnitine during repetitive ovulation cycles restored the quality of egg cells. So it's another really important nutrient for mitochondrial health. And again, we'll talk about dosage specifically in our booklet. Melatonin. So often we use about 3 milligrams of melatonin at night because it's such a potent antioxidant, and it's lowered in as we age. So we really need to, especially in older women, incorporate the melatonin, and it can be really helpful for sleep. And it also, melatonin goes up at night as cortisol goes down. So they have almost like a seesaw effect. So taking melatonin at night can be really important for creating healthy follicular fluid and healthy eggs, and also for healthy sleep. Sometimes we need to play with the dosage. It can be a little bit individual for some people, but on average it would be 3 milligrams at night, an hour before bed. Resveratrol. So resveratrol is something that you may have heard of, and sirtuins are a family of protein in the bodies that have potent antioxidant qualities. So resveratrol, which is found in grapes and is a potent antioxidant, promotes these powerful antioxidants within the body and helps to preserve fertility. So resveratrol has been shown in a lot of research to really combat the effect of aging on eggs. Inositol is another one that is just fabulous, particularly for egg health of women with a history of PCOS or any insulin resistance. However, In most women, they will get improved egg quality if they're doing IVF and they also take inositol. So again, it is super key. And the dosage is quintessential here. So in the research, it was 2 grams twice daily that was needed to achieve those really healthy eggs. Vitamin D, we need to measure this in blood, and if it is low, it is super important for healthy egg health, and higher levels are correlated with better IVF success. Omega-3 fatty acids have also been shown to improve egg quality. So this is where good small fish like sardines and just the very small fish that don't accumulate mercury but have a good omega-3 profile are really great to take. Otherwise, you can take a really good quality fish oil, and that will actually improve IVF and ICSI outcomes. And because the membrane of the egg is made up of good fats, omega-3s are very important for egg quality. And diet. So we know the Mediterranean diet, full of all the different colors of vegetables, increases our chance of having a successful live birth and pregnancy. So really it's all about those wonderful colors in the berries, in the tomatoes, in all the dark green leafy vegetables. A rainbow plate really will help to provide rich antioxidants for your egg health. And there's lots of other wonderful things in a Mediterranean diet, like the good oily fish, the great beneficial effects of good quality extra virgin olive oil and olives and all those dark green leafy vegetables. So there's so much to enjoy, and grapes. All these things contribute to our antioxidant armamentarium, which protects our eggs. So Chinese medicine really holds the key as far as I'm concerned when it comes to egg quality. Because I'm a naturopath, I'm also qualified as an acupuncturist, I'm a midwife, and I have a master's in reproductive medicine. I try and incorporate all of these skill sets into treating and supporting my women with their fertility journey. So one of the things that I found absolutely invaluable is Chinese herbs. And what Chinese herbs do is they really help improve the circulation. So a 40-year-old woman has half the amount of circulation going to her reproductive system. So we really need to improve the blood flow and the quality of the blood to improve those healthy eggs. So there's going to be plenty of suggestions in your workbook to achieve this. Sometimes blood can be a little bit too thick to flow healthily. We can have high platelets or super high hemoglobin, things that suggest that are little indicators that the blood is perhaps a little bit too viscous, and that we need to definitely improve to get that circulation to that vital reproductive tissue. Now, in order to improve egg health, one of my favorite herbal formulas is actually called Romania 6, and it's been shown in the research to improve IVF outcomes at a dosage of 6 grams 3 times a day, and it was only given from cycle day 3 to 14, 3 months prior to IVF, and the outcomes for the IVF were so much better when taking the Romania 6. So they had actually a 63.36% increased success rate compared to the placebo group that didn't take the herb prior to IVF. So if you want to improve your egg health, this is one of my number 1 tips. Now, this was for women diagnosed with yin deficiency, so I will write down or in the booklet, it actually states what those yin deficiency signs and symptoms are so that you know that you're going to be in the category of getting the benefit from this herbal preparation, which is an absolute must for fertility. So this again is just talking about the higher quality eggs that were shown when women took the Romania 6 versus placebo. And there's also many other ways in which Chinese herbs can improve egg health. Korean ginseng, for example, improves mitochondrial function and DHEA and also testosterone. So these are things that we measure, and if they are low, then Korean ginseng may be indicated. Another beautiful herb, rhodiola, that I love has been shown to reduce oxidative stress and cellular stress and fatigue in 8 weeks. And this in turn is likely to improve egg quality. So I wanted to finish today with going through a case history, because it's always good to see these herbal medicines and nutrients in action. So this was a client of mine who was aged 35 and had a history of 5 miscarriages. She really had a history of poor egg quality. She was barely getting to blastocyst, and when she did get to blastocyst, which is 5 days of embryo growth, unfortunately, even if she did have an IVF transfer, they wouldn't take. There seemed to be something wrong with the egg and the embryo quality. Finally, she did end up with twins and 8 blastocysts. And when she had them tested, 6 of them were euploid, which meant that they had normal chromosomes. 2 of these were transferred and they became her twins. So really, she went from 5 miscarriages, terrible egg collections, to also terrible egg and embryo quality, and really just improving the eggs drastically improved her outcomes, and she was able to conceive and have twins. So these are the nutrients that I provided, and they're really just almost all of the things that we went through I added into her protocol. So there's just so much that can be done with all of these nutrients, and we will give you specific guidance in your workbook on dosage and how to use these nutrients. So I hope you've gained a lot of knowledge and confidence on creating excellent eggs. There's so much that can be done in this area, and it really is the centerpiece of your fertility. So thanks for listening.